Good evening, and this is my classroom project design for self-access learning material course. And today we are going to learn about the passive voice. First, a short description about my project. First, the objectives. The students will be able to identify the difference between active and passive voice, and to practice the passive voice structure in present and past. I hope that the students spend at least here 30 minutes. This self-access learning material is thought about my 8th graders, and they are probably in a level B1 or B1 plus. So today we are going to learn about the passive voice. But what is the passive voice is? In general, we tend to use the active voice, that is when a subject does an action to an object. So we got some examples here. So I write a letter. So we got subject, then we got an action, and then we got an object. Right? The passive voice is used when we want to emphasize the action, the verb, and the object. Now, so we got I write a letter is written. So in this case, this one is active, and now we got here, this is the passive voice, and here we want to emphasize either the verb or the object here. Okay, so as you can see, these three sentences are passive voice, and these three ones here are active voice. Okay, so the passive voice is used when we want to emphasize the actions, the verb, and the object of the sentence rather than the subject. So that's why, for instance, here, so I write a letter is written, but we are not currently mentioned who did the action. This means that the subject is either less important than the action itself, or that we don't know who or what the subject is. So somebody stole my laptop, so as we don't know who somebody is, so let's check this out, the second one. So my laptop was stolen here. I'm not using someone. Why? Because I just don't know who did it. So just my laptop was stolen. And many people know Napa. Napa is known by many people. And if we think that the subject is important, we can use by, and then we can use many people. So to sum up, we use the passive voice when we don't want to say who did it, or we think that that is not important. But now we are going to explain a little bit more about the passive voice. Okay, so we are going to start with the simple present. I write a letter. That is a very easy sentence, and it is going to help us a lot. The first thing that we need to identify is the object pronoun, that is a letter. So this is the object. We're going to move the object at the beginning of the sentence. So it's going to be a letter. Okay. Now we're going to identify the verb. So write. As this is present, right? This is a present. This is present. So write. Move it here. And we are going to use the past participle. Write, wrote, written. So I'm going to use the past participle when I use the passive voice, always. Okay, so it's going to be the past participle, right? And now we always going to use a verb to be when we use the passive voice. Okay, so a letter, this is a present tense, so a letter is, because a letter singular, so is written. So far, we have to keep in mind two important things. First one, we are always going to use a verb to be in the passive voice. Second one, we have to use the past participle. Okay? Here we have another example. Now we got, again, the letters. That is going to be the object. And the object is going to be moved at the beginning. Okay? Now keep in mind that this is letters, so this is plural. So delivered here. So delivered is a regular verb, so we only use ed. And then we use the verb to be that we always going to use in the passive voice. Plural, letters, so I use are. And now if we want to mention who did the action, okay, we can use by. And in this case, pay attention, because you cannot use he. You need to use the object pronoun. So that would be him, by him here. Okay? In previous slides, we only use affirmative sentences. Now we're going to continue with negative sentences. So we got here, don't. Okay? We are still working in present. Again, we got these cards. Those are the objects. That is the first thing that you need to identify. So the object. Why? Because the object is going to be at the beginning of the sentence. So these cards. Plural, plural. So we keep those. Okay? Second, verb. So what is the verb? What is the action? Make. So, made. Make, made, made. Okay? In Japan, we need to identify like some extra information that it is not going to change. Okay? Those are just some specification of the place, so we keep them at the end. So we go now our object, then past participle of the verb, and our verb to be. And here we are going to make the negative statement here, so are not, aren't, okay? Because we always need a verb to be. So these cards are not. We don't use don't be, or something like that. Okay, it is are not, and it is like plural. If it were singular, it would be like the card is not made in Japan. Interrogative sentences are a little bit more tricky, okay? Why? Because we are going to use at the beginning, we need to use at the beginning the verb to be, always, unless you are using a WH question. So the WH question, it is going to be at the beginning, okay? But in this case, so we got auxiliary, do people speak English in your country? So people speak English in your country. Here, I have always taught this topic this way. So people speak English. Right now I identify the sentence in present, in affirmative. Now the object is English. So again, English at the beginning. So that is going to be the object is going to be the second one. Okay? Follow after the verb in past participle. Speak, spoke, spoken. So we got here spoken. And additional information. So in your country, here, then here. This is additional information. And now the passive point, now verb to be at the beginning, unless you are using a WH question. Okay. Now passive voice, but in past tenses. That is going to be like pretty much the same. However, instead of using am, are, or is, you are going to use was or were. Okay, so that is more or less the idea. Now he delivered the letters. Now pay attention here, so we got simple past. But it's going to be pretty much the same. So we need to work with the letters. And after that, we identify the verb. So deliver is a regular verb. It is going to keep the same. And then we got here. So the letters were delivered. So the letters, why? Because this is plural. The letters, so I use were for plurals. Verb in past participle. Okay, like again, I identify the subject, the object, then I move it at the beginning. Okay, now the verb delivered here, and then it is going to move here to delivered. Okay, and now something important. If I think that the object it is relevant, the subject of the sentence is relevant. In this case, he. Okay, in this case here, he. I can just put it at the end, and I have to use the object pronoun, not the subject pronoun. So it is by him, and I have to use by. Okay, that will be the case in affirmative sentences. Now, interrogative sentences. Again, remember, am, are, is in present, in past, was, were. And if it is a negative statement, so that will be was not, wasn't, or were not, weren't. Okay, so again, we identify this photograph, identify the object. So that is going to be at the beginning of the sentence here. So at the beginning of the sentence, Then we got the verb take, took, taken. We always need a verb to be, and it is the verb to be the one that is going to be the negative part. So didn't here. So we got didn't here, and instead of using didn't, we're going to use was not. Pay attention here because this is singular. So this photograph was not. If it were plural, so we use weren't. And once again, Leslie is the subject here. If we think that that is relevant, so we can place it at the end, have to use by Leslie, or we can just cross that out, drop it out. This photograph was not taken. Finally, interrogative sentences. Did Stanley write this article? So again, this is going to be tricky. First, identify the object of the sentence. I did something similar to this, okay, with the other sentence. Identify article. Okay, so this article, it is going to be here, but always in the interrogative form, the verb to be goes at the beginning. Okay, so it is going to be like this. So was the verb to be, then this article at the beginning here. Okay, right here, written by Stanley, if I think that the subject is relevant, and the verb to be at the beginning, unless you got a WH question. Okay, now we are going to practice together. I'm going to show you some sentences, and the only thing that you have to do is to think about the answer, and we can answer these questions together. If you think that you are not prepared, so you better stop right now and learn and check the previous slides once more. If you are ready, so let's start. The first one, people produce cars in this factory. Quickly identify the object. So what is the answer? In your mind, you don't need to write it down. Okay? Answers. Cars are produced in this factory. Probably you didn't keep in mind cars. Okay, the plural. Now, let's move on. The farmer grows carrots in his field. Again, identify subject. It's going to be at the beginning. Verb. So it's going to be what? Carrots. Carrots. Now, you need the verb to be. Carrots, plural, so are. Grow. Do you know what is the past participle of grow? And at the end, the farmer, if you think that it is important. So carrots are grown in his field. Keeping in mind like he is, that is the farmer. Next one. Mr. Lawrence milks her cow twice a day. Now, let's identify the object, thing. The answer, her cow is milked twice a day. Pay attention that this is the object, and we got the verb to be, and then twice a day. Let's move on. I think that right now we're going to work in past, so be ready. My dad found the car in the garage. Identify that here we are working in past. Okay? The verb is in past. What is the subject? The car was found in the garage. I didn't write the letter. Letter at the beginning. Didn't. Remember, this is past, was, were. What is the answer? The letter was not written by me. If you didn't think about by me because you didn't consider that it was important, it is okay. Last one. They paid the artist £1,000 for his paintings. Did you identify the object? And that's it. Okay? Good job. Now it is your turn. Now, the first thing that I need you to do is to investigate about the passive voice in simple future, only with will. Okay? So far, you have seen simple present and simple past. Now, by yourself, now that you got an idea, you have to investigate about will. Here, you have an example. I will buy a new computer. A new computer will be bought by me. Okay, now investigate about this structure. When you are ready, go to, and here you're going to find a quiz in order to see if you have understood the passive voice in present, past, and future. And finally, you get a certification. Thank you very much for your time. All these exercises and explanations were taken from the following websites. Thank you.